Good evening, friends. Thank you for joining Candid Meena every evening to follow what's happening in India and abroad. And thank you for sending me your useful comments and suggestions. If you believe in this channel, do hit the like button, share with friends, and spread the message. Our only mission is to bring you the truth and both sides of the story. Thank you for your support. Deepti said she'll be joining within 10 to 15 minutes. So meanwhile, let me just give you a little bit of the news. Apparently, Supreme Court issues a notice to center and several states on a PIL seeking food and basic amenities for Rohingya refugees. A bench led by Justice Chandrachud admitted the PIL filed by advocate Fazal Abdali sought replies from Union Delhi, Haryana, Telangana, J&K, Manipur, and Mizoram. I find this rather strange. So there's so some of the tweets that came in this context. One of them says, Chandrachud will cause doom for India. Government of India had initiated the process of deporting Rohingyas. Supreme Court stayed their deportation. Now, Supreme Court will pass an order to Government of India and state governments to provide housing, food, and jobs for them. After that, PIL will be filed for citizenship. So this is a very strange thing, friends, because see, the more any country, if I was in the UAE for a long time, they never allowed people to come in this way. No country allows people, especially people like Rohingyas and Bangladeshis to come in, who after some time are given citizenship by the opposition, like Congress, and then they vote for them. And not only that, because of them, so much of violence, is seen everywhere. If India is not strict and throw these people out, we have a problem. Meanwhile, some of you had asked about the symptoms for Omicron. So, just looking at what some of the doctors were saying, some of the symptoms are extreme tiredness, mild muscle aches, a scratchy throat, and dry cough. And high fever is not linked to this, they say. So these are the main symptoms. It's extreme tiredness, mild muscle aches, a scratchy throat, and dry cough. Meanwhile, in news about Salman Khan and Jacqueline Fernandez, Salman Khan says he asked Jacqueline Fernandez to dig up dirt in Panvel instead of doing cardio like a fool. Now, in his show, which is the Kapil Sharma show, Salman said that he used to ask Jacqueline to try out farming while at his farmhouse in Panvel. The actor added that she would only want to do cardio on the treadmill. He said she preferred the treadmill than hands-on farming as her choice of workout. The 55-year-old actor spent a considerable amount of time at his Panvel farmhouse during the lockdown last year. He was accompanied by a bunch of his friends during the stay, one of whom was Jacqueline. Speaking on the show, he said that he used to ask Jacqueline to try out farming while at the farmhouse, adding she only wanted to do cardio on the treadmill. He said in Hindi, and Jacqueline, which I'm translating, Jacqueline was also there with us. She was doing cardio on the treadmill like a fool. It was foolish, I told her. Farm the land, he said. Talking about farming, he added, उसके अंदर पूरा दिन बीत चला जाता है और ऐसे ही लगता है कि कुछ किया है दिन में. आप फसल भी उगा रहे हो. It takes an entire day and you feel like you've done something. You're growing crops also. He was speaking on the Kapil Sharma show, on which he was trying to promote his new film Antim. Now, friends, see, people are, the PR machine, including Kapil Sharma, which is his own show, are trying to promote him as much as possible. Because, apparently from what the reports that we got, the movie is not doing very well. And he is facing, the after effects of that. And before you know it, he's coming out with another film with another young girl, picked up from somewhere. So it seems his job is just to pick up people and groom them and put them in films. Meanwhile, making friendship with them as well. You know what I mean? Yeah. Meanwhile, Jacqueline Fernandez's photo with the con man Sukesh Chandrasekhar sparks controversy. Bollywood actor Jacqueline Fernandez, who was questioned by the Enforcement Directorate in connection with the rupees 200 crore extortion case involving Sukesh Chandrasekhar had earlier denied claims that she was dating the con man. Now, see, friends, here I'd like to tell you, how this news came out. The news came out when there were reports that she had bought an extremely expensive home worth crores, and she was going to move in with her new husband into that house. Apparently, that fell in the eyes of the ED, and the questioning started. And she kept saying that she was only a witness. She was being called as a witness. A photo of Jacqueline Fernandez with Sukesh Chandrasekhar has surfaced weeks after the actor denied dating the conman, who is also the prime accused in a rupees 200 crore extortion case. Jacqueline recently came under the radar of ED in reference to the case against conman named Sukesh Chandrasekhar. She was called for interrogation and was reportedly questioned for almost 7 hours. Sukesh Chandrasekhar has been accused of carrying out rupees 200 crore scam. She was reportedly questioned under Prevention of Money Laundering, the PMLA, and some of the financial transactions were also scanned. Now, a picture of Jacqueline and Sukesh Chandrasekhar has hit the internet. See, this all started with that. Then she denied it. So, in the picture shared by India Today, we see Sukesh planting a kiss on Jacqueline's cheeks. It is a selfie which has been supposedly taken between April to June this year, suggests the report. The report also mentions that the phone seen in the picture through which the selfie has been taken is the same phone through which he carried out the scam. Earlier, the conman's lawyer had told the media that the actress was dating him, but later her spokesman cleared the air by denying her involvement with him or his wife, actress Lena Maria Paul. The spokesperson had reportedly said Jacqueline Fernandez is being called to testify as a witness by the ED. She has duly recorded her statements and in future will also be completely cooperating with the agency in the investigations. Jacqueline also categorically denies alleged slanderous statements made about relationship with the involved couple. Now you see how the PR tries to protect them when such things happen. Let me just show you an image of both of them. Just a second. Mute myself. Yeah. Just a second, friends. Okay. Meanwhile, I'll just take a few comments of yours before Deepti joins us. So let's just see what people have to say. Welcome, Neelu. Hope you're well and, of course, more determined, much more with much more power. Yeah. Deepti has been in a bit of a tiz. Good morning and evening, Meena and Deepti. Looking forward to another explosive session of information, and may power and strength and courage guide you, both beautiful fighters of truth. Welcome, Miki. Vilakshan. A very good evening, Meena ma'am, Deepti ma'am, and all dear CM friends. Looking forward to another good session. Great session. Bindu, good evening to Meena ma'am, Deepti, the loving members of CM family. Welcome, Bindu. We're just waiting for her to join, Bindu. The match, the march for justice continues unabated. More power to CM and team. Thank you, Anuradha. Bindu. Good evening to Sushant, who spends an hour with all of us here listening to his thoughts, feelings being read out here. Yes, absolutely, Bindu. Just a second. Hi Deepti, as per your YouTuber Zeni, Das Sridevi was injected with the drug cocaine, as the PM report has mentioned it. There was no mention of Mamushi venom by him. So she was killed in a, I suppose you'll be continuing with that. Karthik, good evening. Just the way Sushant was, yes. Welcome, Nanda. Karthik stopped watching Kapil Sharma show since October. Karthik here very clearly. See, first Jacqueline was caught with the, when she bought the house and she was planning to marry him and settle down. And that's when the ED noticed it, and that's how she was questioned. And can you imagine the PR says that she was questioned, she was only a witness. A witness does not get questioned for 7 hours, So that's all, crap. As I said earlier, there is going to be overdose of bullyweed all over the media. Yes. Justice for Sushant. Boycott the shameless Bollywood. Yes. Good morning, Meena. Deepti. Yeah. Welcome, Savitri. Connection will reveal even if they deny it. Yes. All these women follow the oldest profession and have no shame. And that's why also, Karthik, they're trying their best to push the Katrina wedding to Vicky Kaushal when their whole family is denying it. We don't know what kind of publicity they are seeking. Latest, if you look at the latest reports, they're showing Katrina's mother shopping for the wedding. God alone knows what sort of stories they weave. Nikki Karthik, she'll join in. Yes, she should be joining soon. Welcome, Gloria. Welcome, Sarah. Savitri, more power to me. Thank you, Savitri. Okay, hope she's doing well. Yeah, she was a bit busy and traveling also. Karthik, she's back now. Welcome. Awaiting justice for dear Sushant. Yes. Yeah, we missed you, Ushma. Thank you for joining us. You had some problem, I think, in joining us. Hemraj, all new releases is going to be a flop. The time is changing. People is changing majorities. People don't want to listen or talk about these Bollywood druggies. Yes. Here, Himraj, I must tell you something. See, people like Ajay Devgan have never promoted their movies. Now he's trying his best to promote a movie. I don't know the latest movie with Amitabh Bachchan. So they are so scared. And Salman's fear. Look at the way Akshay looks. They've all become 10 years older. Yes, Ishma. CBI must come out with conclusive results in SSR case. Ishma, today some good news. Savitri, why government not doing anything against Salman Khan? Yes. Okay. Meanwhile, let's just go to the to other news. Actor Sara Ali Khan, she rebuked her security guard for pushing paparazzi and apologizes on his behalf. Actor Sara Khan was seen getting angry at her security personnel in a brief snippet posted by Bollywood Pinky Wheeler after he reportedly pushed a photographer. उनको सॉरी बोलिए आप नहीं दीजिए ऐसे धक्का please apologize, do not push anyone, said the visibly irked actress as she personally apologized to those present at the event. According to reports, she had gone for the launch of her song Chaka Chak from the film Atrangi Re when the incident happened. The security officials probably pushed the paparazzi away as they attempted to photograph her as she was leaving the premises. One of the paparazzi probably fell after being pushed, catching the attention of the actor, who then rebuked her security guard for his insensitive behavior. Whom did you push down? She said. And when the people around said no one fell down, she said, no, the one who was pushed went away. So she's just trying to show that she's a very nice lady. So that's PR again at work. So, meanwhile, Uttar Pradesh has been chosen as the most friendly state for film shooting at the International Film Festival of India. The state of Uttar Pradesh has grabbed the award for being the most friendly state for film shooting at the 52nd International Film Festival of India held at Dr. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee Stadium in Goa. The award was handed over to the additional Chief Secretary, Navneet Sehgal, who received it on behalf of the state government on the closing day of the 9th-day event on November 28. In a statement issued, the Yogi Adityanath government in UP said Union Information and Broadcasting Minister Anurag and Goa's Chief Minister Pramod Sawant handed over the award to Uttar Pradesh on the concluding day of the festival. On this occasion, Sehgal stated that UP administration led by Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath is encouraging various film-related activities in the state. In this film city, effort is being made to provide all facilities related to filmmaking, such as pre-production, post-production, and shooting under one roof. An estimated investment of rupees 10,000 crores will be made in the film city. Meanwhile, if all these people from Shiv Sena are not bad enough, we have Shiv Sena's Priyanka Chaturvedi and 11 other members suspended of the unruly behavior, manhandling security personnel in last session. And she has gone almost wild with anger. These suspended MPs included 6 of the Congress party, 2 members of Shiv Sena, 2 from the Trinamool Congress, and the other 2 from the CPM and CPI, respectively. They would not be allowed to participate in the current winter session of the parliament. The Rajya Sabha, on the first day of its business in the winter session, suspended 12 MPs, including Shiv Sena MP Priyanka Chaturvedi and Trinamool MP Dola Sen for the remaining part of the current session. The MPs have been suspended for misconduct and unruly behavior in the House. These suspended MPs include 6 from the Congress party, 2 members from the Shiv Sena, 2 from the Trinamool Congress, and the other 2 from CPM and CPI, respectively. They will not be allowed in Rajya Sabha in the winter session. The names include Priyanka Chaturvedi from Shiv Sena, Dola Sen from TMC, Ella Maram Karim from CPM, Fulo Devi Netam from INC, Chaya Verma, INC, Ripun Bora, INC, Binoy Vishwam, CPI, Rajamani Patel, INC, Shanta Chetri, TMC, Syed Nasir Hussain, INC, Anil Desai, Shiv Sena, Akhilesh Prasad Singh from INC. The official notice said this House takes cognizance and strongly condemns the utter disregard to the authority of the chair, complete abuse of rules of the House, persistently thereby willfully obstructing the business of House under the unprecedented acts of misconduct, contemptuous, unruly, and violent behavior and intentional attacks on security personnel on the last day of the 254th session of the Rajya Sabha. According to reports, they were reprimanded for indiscipline during the monsoon session of the House, which has to be ended 2 days prior to the scheduled date after it witnessed a commotion in the upper house on the last day of the session. Reacting to the decision, Shiv Sena MP Priyanka Chaturvedi was quoted by ANI as saying, "From district court to Supreme Court, an accused is heard even there. Lawyers are provided for them too. Sometimes government officials are sent to take their version. Here our version wasn't taken. If you see the CCTV footage, it has been recorded how male marshals were jostling female MPs, all of this on one side, and your decision on the other. What kind of unparliamentary behavior is this?" Yeah, Deepti is back, so let me just add her. Welcome, Deepti. Welcome. Can you hear me, Deepti? You're on mute. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I was on mute.
Yeah. Welcome, Deepti.
Thank
People
you so
were
much.
looking
Thank you
forward
so
to
much.
Yes.
Yes, I just wanted to, give you this compliment, Minaji. Your paintings, especially of Lord Shiva and all that you have been sharing lately, are so full of life and they are so beautiful. You are multi-talented. You are really
Thank you so much.
multi-talented.
Actually, Deepti, that has been commissioned by none other than my husband. Okay.
Okay.
So it's not very easy working for someone like him, because he'll say, put the snake here, make the snake small. I need to concentrate only on Lord Shiva. He's going to use it for meditation. So, when you have
Okay.
some patron from outside, it's okay. But when it's the patron is in your house, you'll have to keep on changing
You have to be on your
details.
toes all the time.
Yes. So thank you, Deepti. And I hope
Yeah.
things are okay with you a little better now. Can you, uh, you know, tell us
I
how things are
mean,
with you?
it's okay. I mean, Dhruva is back into contact.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Very good.
Yes, he's back into. He's not saying much about what happened, but yeah. So he's back into contact, and yes, the pressure on me because I am afraid to travel anywhere now, Minaji,
Yeah.
because I don't know. I mean, if I haven't taken vaccination, let me tell you that. Okay,
Okay.
I have my
Okay.
reasons because the vaccination has not proved its efficacy. I'm not encouraging others not to take it,
Yeah.
but I didn't take it, and also when I am traveling and it is urgent, it gets very impossible to travel with a negative
Yeah.
PCR all the time.
Yeah.
So there are chances if they want to, I mean, hold me in quarantine, or of course,
Ah,
only when
ah,
you show the symptoms, then a test should be
yeah.
done,
Yeah.
ideally. But
Yeah.
then if they want to harass me or something, then they can use any means. So I am afraid
Okay.
to travel more right now. So
Okay.
there is some pressure and there is some risk right now. But
Yeah.
yes, things are very much in control.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So whenever you're ready,
Okay.
we can start.
Sure. I will start reading now. Manoj.
Yeah. Fine.
Okay. Yeah. So I am astonished to see the connections. I am astonished to see the connections and also realize the way the web was spread all over India and how is it getting connected and slowly getting centralized. This, for now, everyone might feel is something where we do not need to worry much about. But then the fact is that this is what is going most to do the most damage, the way we want to lay back until the last moment and then hurry to get the task accomplished, losing it all in the process, and the loss to the peace of mind, time, and the effort behind it, in addition to toll that this would have on your emotions and how it would squeeze out your energy from you. The rise in popularity of sporting events, IPL and its type, now has become the open hunting ground. Do anything when the live match is going on, and the best plus what you get here is that you are doing it right under the public eye. But the public is busy and is occupied elsewhere. This is exactly what is happening in this context of this sporting event, IPL. There has to be strict action taken on this event, as this event has been in controversy ever since it began. And the instances when the controversy related to on field sports, just a single one was to be found, rest of them, according to me, do not count in this category. There are a lot of people who are in the scene, but only a handful of the names actually come out, and no one has ever got the punishment what they deserve. So this continues and maybe continues forever. It's up to us to decide. Now that we have some points here to consider, when we get deeper into these subjects, we now have some material to work around. I will make sure that my team would work around these angles, and I shall ensure that I will keep a close check around all this. Go back to our Prince of Andhra Pradesh. Let's go back to our Prince of Andhra Pradesh, Jagan Mohan Reddy, and open some chapters back in those books of his, which have some interesting chapters to tell, and also narrate some incidents in detail. Now, this is one huge chapter in the history of three states, which I had given a small introduction to. To begin the topic, now we shall get to the minute details of this chapter and also see and have a look at all the under table deals that have happened around this time. The stories that came out, the classical acts that were pulled off, the problems that the people faced, and the impact that it left behind. When things started coming to light, there are so many stories that have never been told. Or rather, I would not be wrong if I say that the stories that were told, there were no ears that had it in them to listen to the stories that were being told. Before we begin, the some things that we all need to know and understand here is that the politics in the states like Andhra, Tamil Nadu, and some more down south, the one thing common is that most of the times it is dynasty politics. And there are two main parties every time. The same parties change roles from power to opposition. Now, when we come to Andhra Pradesh, there are two parties. One, TDP led by N. Chandrababu Naidu. Two, YSRP led by Jagan Mohan Reddy. Now, the issue that I am going to discuss here is about the mining scam and the Hawala angle, and some other angles that are attached to this story here. It all began when the notes having origin traced back to An- Antapuram and Guntur were found more sooner and faster. And when some people studied this, they found that unless conventional ways of meeting the requirements is broken, there is no way that this could be done, or there is no possibility whatsoever to achieve this kind of a task. The vigilance teams from various states and some other agencies too were on the lookout for this, and the heat was on everywhere. The blow up happened when similar incident made its way to Karnataka. The people who were trying to find the trail around this found one connection, and this man was some Mr. Prabhakar Reddy, a person who had a business of rice trading, both in Andhra and Tamil Nadu, and he was regularly buying stock from Karnataka too. The vehicles that were seized around this time, you will have all the information if you want to take this up and reach a conclusion. The trucks that were found carrying the money, the newly printed currency notes, somehow made its way to a common connection, and this connection was Mr. Prabhakar Reddy. Now, some sources close to these people say that Prabhakar Reddy is very closely connected to Jagan from a very different angle, which only Jagan and very few people know. And this secret is never given out. But yes, the vehicles that were taken into custody during the demonetization time, those vehicles, some made their way back to Andhra Pradesh. And yet, the reason behind this was hard to be found until Shekhar got arrested. Once Shekhar got behind the bars, Shekhar is believed to have taken a lot of names and has made his confession too. The people who have known what has happened and what was to happen because of all this say that there was no way this would come out if the fight did not happen. Now, what this fight was and what exactly is the issue is very interesting, and this has a lot of wings attached to it. Some names that came out took me by surprise, and I was not sure what I should be actually doing. Because when you get to understand what exactly is the thing that is happening, these stories have one way or the other to confuse you once again. But then it's not that difficult either. The sudden decision of putting a stop to the 500 and the 1000 rupees currency sent terror waves across everyone's mind and heart. And people like Gali Janardhan Reddy, Jagan Mohan Reddy, and others were taken by shock and surprise. It is believed that back then some people, in fact, not some, most people got into panic mode. And there are a lot of things that happened. Now, when I had told in the last instance that the notes were traced back to Andhra, when the notes that were in the possession of Shekhar were checked, and not just these, there were other instances too where the notes, when were checked for, showed the same destination for more than one instance. Now the game here begins. The people who were the main heads behind what started during demonetization. I'm not sure if many of you know about this. Most of us do. But if you do not know it, then let me first tell you what the matter is, and then we can proceed. After demonetization struck, people were found in total panic and chaos, not able to understand what is to be done to the notes they have on them. That's when there was one deal that started making rounds in the market. That how much ever old notes you have, we will take it from you. But then we have some commission we will charge. This business grew very well during that time, and this happening everywhere. But the main center point for South India was Andhra Pradesh, and the currency all over India was also believed to be handled from here for some time, till there were better options found out. There are numerous reasons why Andhra Pradesh was chosen, and why is it that we have to go back to these chapters again. What are the points that we have missed out to see? What are the angles hidden in all these stories? The answer to all these questions lie in the actions that we have ignored in the past. Let's get back Let's get back in the pages of history and revisit these moments again so that we will get the clear picture out, and then we can decide how do we arrive at a conclusion. And yes, some names which came out here are idols to me as well. But when the mission here is to ensure that we are as clear as possible, and have made a promise to myself that I will note down everything, I will have to take those names. And I am sure people will understand that I have nothing to do around it. And even it happens to be otherwise, I have my own answers to give, and we can then work it out. We will definitely work around it and get our desired results and make sure that everything comes out on paper and is clear in front of the public as to who is what and what is the game that is being played behind our backs to keep us at check, and also ensure that not much damage is done to their existence, and also how smoothly can things function when they have to execute their tasks and no one ends up feeling the pinch. All these plans happen at a different level and is executed differently, and most of the times the execution is perfect and the actual blame gets shifted elsewhere. There is a huge pattern in this, and it's important we study these patterns out. To begin this chapter and make people understand everything that is around it, also raise a very important point too. We need to first analyze around what are the factors that lead us to this conclusion, and how important is this chapter when it comes to the crimes that are happening in our country, and also the connections it holds to the underworld. Some stories were in front of us and we could never actually see it. Now this chapter and the man in the connection now will actually show us how lame we were when it came to understanding that the deeper meanings some incidents that happened in front of our eyes actually had, and how we were played with. There is no way anyone can guess this right or understand where I am heading to, because this is something which most of us would not have even given a fair thought about. So it becomes even the more important that we start this from the beginning and actually come from there. This is the story of how IPL helped the underworld too, and how a lot of Dawood's investments came into the IPL, and the teams that helped and supported the cause. Let's get to it one by one. Each and every team knew this very well, so did the players, as per the reports we have received. And an important connection that comes out here revolves around three names: Anushka Sharma, Venki Mysore, and Ness Wadia. Though there are many other names involved, these three names have the strongest of the connections. And not to forget, the main people, the crime time players, Sharad Pawarji, and also this incident will actually show us how the ex-CM of Maharashtra, Mr. Devendra Fadnavis, can equally be counted guilty too here. If we go by the timeline of events, we get to hear a story, and this story tells us that each of them are involved, and very well, and very well know what is happening around them. It's just that we tend to get carried away with the flow and we cannot see through it. Now, before I start the chapter and start talking around it, let me make one point very clear here. If these people decide to bump me off or take me to task, then this right here, this chapter, can be one of the prime reasons to catalyze the process sooner. I am pretty sure that there are some dirty angles here that will raise alarms, and these alarms can prove very, very costly. But then you cannot just lay back because you are up to something that can put you to risk. The power and the beauty of truth is that if you are put to rest, thousand others will stand up, and as Subhash Chandra Bose once said, they can only kill the person, not the idea. And if the person is killed, the idea multiplies into many ideas. I do not worry about myself. The only thing that worries me is living in this society with so many vices. And when we have decided that these vices need to be taught a lesson, we should be ready for anything. So are we. But we will ensure that we will be careful and also watch out for the outlashes that would be thrown at us when these things come out. I rather say when these things come out, it would be a game of survival. And the entire universe knows that most of the times, when it comes to survival of people of this category, some blood is spilled. And then the blood is silently washed out. But history has to change. And there is no future date for this change to happen. It has to happen now. First thing that we all will ensure is that there is no more bloodshed. And if there is, we will make sure that this time every single drop of blood that falls down will scream out loud its own story. And also, we will ensure that the spark this would light in the hearts of the people never dies down. So much introduction and backdrop is much needed here because, in this context, the names that would come out would actually shake the entire belief system of a lot of people. And when this happens, there would be confusion everywhere. So, we need to ensure what measures we have to take so that the news comes out in silence. And then it makes the noise. Because the one thing we all need to understand here is that something which makes noise can never make the desired impact because, as English says, empty vessels make the most noise. Barking dogs, barking dogs seldom bite. Now, the reason why I have mentioned these two proverbs here, I will come to it at the end of the chapter. But throughout the course of this chapter, keep these two lines in your mind so that you will get a better view of things that are happening around us and also understand that all the fights and the clashes these people have is only in front of you and me. In the end, when the sun sets off, all these people are together on one huge table and discuss it out what should be done tomorrow, and this continues. Not anymore. Enough of the time these people had a merry right. Now the time has come when we apply the brakes to this and start asking our questions. The only difference between hooligans and cannibals is that hooligans damage the entire society, whereas cannibals damage their own race. But the people we are encountering here are both hooligans and cannibals, and this is the reality each of us need to understand. And to make an impact, it is very much necessary we stay united. Having given this as an introduction, let's begin the chapter that is going to expose a lot of names and also will show the true color of some faces and also remove some masks out. Before we start to discuss on the topic at hand, I would request you to do a small Google search around the links I'm going to share with you below. https colon / www.google.com.amp.s.riyajbhatti.sport.blog.2016 /2016/11/29/riyajbhatti/amp/. And there are other two links given, Minaji, here. One of Facebook of Riyaz Bhatti's page, and another is the blog of Riyaz Bhatti. After I
Yes.
shared these links, Minaji,
Hmm.
this one of these links has been taken down. It was working at
Okay.
that point of time. Okay.
Okay. Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there are some links. If people want to go through the links, they can follow my Twitter
Yes.
handle.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So there are numerous links that can be shown, and me continuing to type here will actually end up dragging the issue further. The one thing after seeing these photos, what I request you to do is most of us have a Facebook and a Twitter account. Kindly make sure you log into both these social media platforms and look up for this man, Riyaj Bhatti. 2016, the year IPL introduced two teams, Rising Pune Super Giants and Gujarat Lions, into the scheme of things. And this is when a new chapter began in the IPL too. Lots say it was much earlier, but then the actual foundation stone for the same was laid in 2016. Now, the first link that I have shared there is a small typo error in the entire link. I have wrongly spelled Bhatti as BHATTI. This link will take you to a photograph taken in 2016 with Mr. Rajiv Shukla, the IPL chairman, and then began the actual game plan, which came out to the public eye in 2018 with the arrest of Sonu Jalan, Now, though I do not want to go there, this brings out another interesting twist here to this story. When the other names that form the list will be discussed, now this arrest of Sonu Jalan was a huge eye opener for people. If the news came out in the right way and if the investigations happened properly, the way it should have. Sonu Jalan, this name was quite common when it came to betting, and the people who he had connections with, the list goes on as follows: Arbaz Khan, Sajid Khan, Boni Kapoor, Karan Johar, and a lot more. Some names that I know, I will come out with evidences as I am doing now, showing this connection here. But the interesting twist that comes into the story here is that Arbaz owed huge money to the betting mafia, and when he was unable to pay, he was given warnings. And also, he was asked to do something on a personal front too, which became the final nail in the coffin that split Malaika and Arbaz. Out of the many instances where the current talk of town couple could meet, one such instance was these after parties the betting mafia would hold. However, this is something personal and I wish not to dig into it further deep. But this is one of the main reasons for the split, and this was told by Arbaz himself during the interrogation. Now, if this is true or false, I trust my agencies and would conclude this to be true. Now, the other point that we all need to think, ponder, and know is that this was not the first time that Sonu Jalan was arrested. He was once taken into detention in 2008, but then there was nothing much against him, and he was let off. His name was also in the list of reckoning when Vindu Dhara Singh got arrested in 2013. Let me make one point here. Until the time I am writing this, the only connection Vindu has in this particular context that we are discussing is that he was just involved in the cash transactions on a commission and had no other connections otherwise. Now, when we go back on time and see some shocking connections, we will know how beautifully are these plans executed. The first thing we need to consider here that both the teams came in place of two teams that were suspended due to involvement in match fixing by their respective owners. And we all know which these two teams were. Now, the other interesting connection that comes in here is with Dhoni and Suresh Raina. RPSG Group is head by Mr. Goenka, who was the owner of RPSG. And this man is known to be very close to the likes of N. Srinivasan and others. Now, the other interesting story that comes here, why I am making this point here is that when Chennai Super Kings was suspended and the BCCI called for two new teams, one name that came out in this context was that of A.C. Muthaiya, the boss of Chettinad Group, and the arch rival of Srinivasan, where both these business magnates have a long list of rivalries, which have been documented as well. This forms another important chapter, and there is a solid instance to actually disclose this. I will keep all of us waiting till then, including myself, because I am yet to find that connection and I am just waiting for a few more inputs before I decide to put it on paper. This gives us the hint what we need to look at the two teams that were finalized and the battles that were fought forms an important connection to show us what transpired and how did it transpire. To start with, let's make another interesting connection here. The man who won the bid for Rising Pune Super Giants was one in contention during the initial auction of the IPL, where he marginally lost the KKR team to Shah Rukh Khan. And his interest in the IPL has been there ever since. Now, the story that is to be told here is connected to the India Chettinad Cements battle. When Srinivasan's team was suspended, the other name that came out with the list of names that were included was A.C. Muthaiya. Muthaiya, for you people's knowledge, has great interest and knowledge on the sport and is the son of M.A. Chidambaran of the famous Chidambaran Stadium in Chennai. And the dispute between the two is very much connected to the same turf. Now, the connection that AC Muttaya has with Chettinad cement in itself is another controversy, which will need a lot of explanation to understand what exactly is the context and the stories around it. But here, the thing that we have to see now is that how AC Muttaya was thrown out of the fight, and the same spot went to RPSG group. And this is why this angle of the story is very important. And the other battles that are on with AC Muttaya and N. Srinivasan in the contention forms another chapter altogether. So I am making sure I do not want to mix both the chapters. This chapter here again becomes another huge question mark on the cause altogether. So it becomes very important when it comes to explaining it properly. We all should know and realize that we should learn to express ourselves properly. But before doing it, we should know ourselves well too. And we have it in us to analyze the situation and to have any knowledge on this. The first point becomes very important, very, very important. Getting back to the chapter we are discussing, there are a lot of other factors that will come into play because RPSG Goenka has always been a little questionable. Incidents surrounding him when it comes to the Sharda chit funds or some others in Kolkata, which I will get back to it later. But here, in this context too, the RPSG group coming into the picture, being the owners of Pune team and Intex Mobiles coming in for Gujarat Lions, and the existing teams continued, despite of some names making it out, but was silenced. And one more very important connection to this, Goenka is the one. I'm sorry, I will repeat this, Minaji. I think I lost you. Okay. Getting back to the chapter we are discussing, there are a lot of other factors that will come into play because RPSG Goenka has always been a little questionable. Incidents surrounding him when it comes to the Sharda chit fund or some others in Kolkata, which I will get back to it later. But here in this context too, the RPSG coming into the picture, being the owners of Pune team and Intex Mobiles coming in for Gujarat Lions, and the existing teams continued despite of some names making it out, but was silenced. And one more very important connection to this, Goenka, is that he and Saurav Ganguly, who currently is the president of the BCCI, the answer is in the ISL, India Soccer League. Go and check for yourself. There are so many things which are interconnected, and it is believed that Saurav Ganguly was always groomed to ascend to the highest position in the richest cricketing body in the world. There are a lot of other stories here too, which I will get back to it as well. But the main thing that needs to be understood over here is that there was a lot of changes that came into the betting mafia, and then the corporate angle came into it with the involvement of Riyaj Bhatti. What is wrong with our agencies? Why not start looking into the pictures seriously? You might counter me saying that some photos have Modi ji with some questionable figures too. I agree. I totally agree. But the one thing I can assure myself, if questions asked to Modi ji about these pictures, then his narration on it will definitely satisfy each one of us. And the other thing that needs to be noted here is that around the time the photographs were taken, the incidents that happened around it also makes it even the more important and interesting. So we need to understand this angle as well, because there are some important chapters attached with this too. The reason I am taking so much time to explain it the way I am is because the thoughts in my mind, when they come out on paper, it should convey exactly what is running in my mind, because it becomes very important and maybe I would say a big responsibility on your head. And the only way to do it is to make sure that you are as clear as possible and make sure that thing is presented as it is. Because what happens is that your perspective cannot match with someone else. But if your perspective is result oriented, then the results will get into your favor. But that does not mean we have won it, because it is very important that everyone plays an equal, if not important part in any mission or task that we have taken up. And make sure we follow this always. and make sure that we have all our perspectives lined up, all our parameters adjusted, and we have all the angles open in front of us. And we have to make sure that we keep it simple and straight so that what we want to say is understood by everyone. Now, the connection between Bhatti and the owners of most of the IPL teams is not hidden to anyone. And the main point, again, which again comes into the contention here, is the same old question that I have asked quite a few times. When you have a public figure in our country in the same frame, and the one other person in the frame is the one who has strong terror links, what are we doing? This is the irony here again, that we have to just ask questions and console ourselves that sometimes logic will be termed as assumptions and our questions most of the times do not get answered. Or an initiation is made and there is no continuation to the initiation made. If you analyze this by yourself, you will find complete sense in what I am speaking and will also relate to it because the facts often have been hidden. And when anyone who had tried to make some connection or tried to get to the roots of it, the people who were early in the journey ended up having psychological disorders, and the people who were close to the core were laid to rest. And the process for the psychological disorder to the rest, the pattern has been same in all related cases if you study them closely. The best example I can give here so that people can relate is the Salman Khan hit and run case and the Parveen Bhabhi lonely death case. If you want to actually understand what I meant, follow both the cases and see how and where do the factors connect and shout out loud that it's the same bunch of people who are at it and you are not able to see through it. Happens. And I completely understand. But the one important thing that we need to teach this society first is that live to our dreams, not throw it on to your children. Let them be what they want to be. And this will be a great step to begin with. Because when the mind is having all the freedom to think about it all by themselves, to explain this, I would like to tell a story that was told to me by a mother. And I find a lot of reality in these words, what was spoken. I will give you both the instances. Now what I want you to do is that you need to analyze the situations around it and then you will understand what I am trying to say and how important it is in the context that we are speaking and what is the message hidden in it. A mother is ensuring that she is doing everything for her kid and making his life easy. This is the first instance. Now, in the second instance, there is a mother who is standing behind her kid and making him learn things. This is the second instance. Who amongst the two kids do you think will be more successful? And if you have the scenarios in front of you and understand these statements properly, my God, how do I do this? After doing a lot of permutations and combinations, this is what I thought was the best way this could be explained. Now, in the earlier slide, I had given the synopsis that one mother makes life easy for her kid by doing all the work, and the other mother does make sure that her child has given it a try too, and now to make sure that everyone who would read this would understand what exactly is running in my head. Part 1. The family is walking on the road, and there is one instance wherein there is a fire, and you have to put the fire off in order to proceed. Then the two scenarios I would give you here are the first mother locates nearby water tap and she instantly takes to it and puts the fire off when her kid calls out mom. And the second mother locates a nearby water tap and she guides her kid to the source of water and assists the kid when the kid puts the fire away. Part 2. The family walks further and they see that the bridge they were to walk through is actually hanging on one rope and the other rope is a little loose and you have to tighten this rope in order to proceed. The scenarios I would give you here is as follows. The first mother instantly tightens the rope up, but the second mom instead has the son do it while she teaches him how to get the thing done. These are the two scenarios that I was given. And the way how this is connected to life, I was asked this question. Part 3. Now both the families are at risk because the next obstacle has come now in front of them in the form of a huge room with a sliding door. I mean to say the one which falls down like a trap. And there are hungry animals in your room. And your only way to get out of this situation is there is a pathway which only a kid can crawl through. The kid has to crawl through this pathway and locate the button and press that button for this sliding door to fall down. Which of the two families will be out safely? Find your own answer. This explanation does make me realize that at times we are always being fed upon things, and it is this feeded information that runs in our brain. We are not able to make some decisions. Sometimes what I feel that this dependency is being put on our head from a very young age, and it would end up making strong roots into us, and we become more someone else altogether. We need to make sure that we throw this dependency out of us from its roots and ensure that there is no one we need to be dependent on, and they do not have any place in our thought process that would help us take a decision. Suggestions, yes, are welcome, because again, here you will have to analyze it for yourself. But the one thing that has to change in the society is people falling trap to information, what is propagated to them. I know I have spoken a lot about this in the past, but then some important connections that come here in the picture is Trimukhe once again. The same Trimukhe whom I had given a detailed information about what kind of person he was. Now comes the picture. Is Now comes the instance where you can find some proof to it too. Now this betting case of the IPL was investigated by the same officer, Trimukhe, and it was his investigations that ended up weakening the case altogether. The deeper truths the case had never made it out in the news. I have some small informations, more to collect, and then when I get back to this yet again, you will all know how deep this racket is. For me, it is very important that when I have some hope that something concrete around the matter that is of great importance to the society can be found, then we should have it in us to reach to it and include it, because when you are sure to the last drop of blood in you that there is nothing in the world that could make a direct connection to the subject that you are talking for you to pen down something. But here the one thing you need to mention But here, the one thing you need to ensure is that you mention that this is my analysis and this is how I feel when it comes to the points around these things, and then keep everything out in the open. Whatever you have found out, but anytime in the journey, if you find out that you have the thing through some connection, then it is always the best thing to do is to get to it. This is why I will conclude that part of this chapter where there are some informations that some teams and the management staff of these teams, how well they are connected in a web to ensure that everything works out smooth, and how these things are connected to some crimes as well that have happened in this society. And also there are some informations about some of the deals and the gates the IPL has opened, and some untold and unheard stories around it. There has to be some strict check and some strict rules that have to be established on these sporting events. And we all have to ensure that we start demanding for the same too. If you feel that this society has an impact on your house and how the atmosphere around your home depends on this, then you should stand up and raise your voice for stricter laws to be imposed on these sporting events. And these sports events have a strong checks that should be made around these sporting events. The connections that form around it are so deep and sometimes can get dirty too. These sporting events has been that question mark on our system which always has played that negative impact on every one of us. The fact that remains around this here is that sporting events like the IPL and most of the others that are currently running all over the world are involved in most of the activities that have been mentioned here below: crowd attraction, crowd pulling, brand promotions, parties, social connections, bulk crowds to address to at one point. These sporting events have been involved in a lot of antisocial activities. The betting angle, the money involved behind it, the numerous politics that we can see both on and off the field, ego and other emotional clashes in the public, often planned, mass movement of people in and out. What I am referring here is the movement of people from one country to another in bulk, like I had explained the entry of Lahore Badshahs in the ICL. These are some of the main activities that happen around the sporting events. And some other things that happen during these sporting events make sure that there is a lot of social activities and these sporting events become centers of marketing attraction. Anything but the sport is played. In order to proceed with the connections further in this angle, the next main connection that comes into the picture is the one thing which we all need to understand here is that how which was the path that was followed by Bhatti, and how did the betting and sport fixing angle happen, and how was it that the entire thing set up and continued for some time, eventually exposing some names which I would say was like the fall of leaves in the autumn. Small names around it had a small trip to the jail and came out on bail, and now it's under investigation. But let me give out the path that was followed by Bhatti so that we all can actually have an idea what and how all this happened. Devendra Fadnavis was very closely connected to the following people: Mukesh Ambani, Nes Wadia, Raj Kundra, and to some extent I would say Shah Rukh Khan, because on paper they show as if they only know each other as social acquaintances and nothing else. And there have been a lot of questions around this. However, the one angle that would instantly connect me to is that Devendra Fadnavis is very close to Vivek and Suresh Oberoi. The main plan was around the matches between Mumbai and Chennai, Kolkata and Sunrisers Hyderabad, and the final combination that was the hot cake was Rajasthan and Delhi. So these matches were the ones that were prime concern, and the rates too for these matches were fixed centrally. How a player is brought, how a player is bought, it was not necessary that everyone was bought with cash. There is one important point here which everyone should know is that the one big reason many big names did not make it to this list is because some of these people got things in kind, and these things that they have received in kind have anchor like backup for it, so that there is no question raised whatsoever on each of these cricketers. And these things that they have received in kind can be anything. Some examples are here below. Some big players in the Chennai team, some strongly feel, including MS Dhoni too, were gifted cars or cash or property of choice was registered off on their names, or what other favors the players or the supporting staff wanted. Now, if you watch the team management very closely, you will find that one person in the management is someone who is always caught out of focus, but is very much a part of the decision making in the management. For instance, let's see it someone who is under the team physio. Just an example, not that everyone and anyone can do everything and anything around it. I just want to make sure that the exact thing, what I'm trying to say, reaches to each and everyone. Because these betting stories that are being spoken around the IPL and the list of names that have come out during the process, there is a lot of things that have been hidden from us. It's not just Sri Sanath, Ankit, Unmukh Chand, Baba Aprajit are some names that came out. But apart from these names, there are so many other names and dirty stories that have been hidden carefully, with all the care taken to ensure that no one is trapped into this and no outsider is able to get to learn and understand this. The most important pattern that we need to study and understand here is that there are some matches wherein out of the blue a player out of form suddenly comes into form, and the team sets up or chases down a score, which would look a little different when it would be seen on paper too. There are so many incidents and facts around so many wrong activities around us, and we will definitely find a strong connection to it to a lot of outsiders. Rajasthan Royals as well. It is strongly believed that all this started when Shane Warne was still in his playing days. What I mean to say over here is that the roots of betting came into the Royals very much well during the playing days of Shane Warne itself, and is one of the teams which were one of the whistleblowers of the betting racket to have its entry into the IPL. Many call it coincidence and the cricketing brain of Shane Warne that won Rajasthan the IPL gold. But on paper, what looks is that the game was of the money. He and the cricketing. But on paper, what looks is that the game was of money. Here, which changed the decision around which team should win. Because if you watch the whole IPL very closely, any season of your choice, you will find that one instance wherein you can call that everything when the IPL is in the topic is that everything is carefully scripted. There is no intent, and at least for the final of the first season of the IPL, it was 180,000 crores, roughly the figure. And also, let me say this too, many say this was the figure until the first half, and the figures hit the sky in the second half of the match. And the reason Rajasthan won the IPL is because no one ever expected Rajasthan to win the IPL in its inaugural season. When we now go and see the names that are in some teams, we can sometimes conclude that all this is scripted too. And Shane Warne is never out of controversy, as all of us know it. Mumbai was not far from taking the center stage too. Mumbai team, too, some players in the side very much involved in these fixing rackets and have played to the tunes of the bookies too. The names like Harbhajan Singh, Lendy Simons, Glenn Maxwell, Krunal Pandey, James Franklin, Andrew Simons are some names that came out, but some people who have connected with us and are slowly opening up now say that till the time Sachin was around, the involvement of Mumbai in match fixing was a little off the guard because most of them believed that Sachin was one of the main people who did not give in to the lucrative deals the bookies had to offer back then and had made that tough nut to crack, which made a lot of bookies' dreams shattered. And if we try to see things from different angles, and also if we measure it to the depth of it too, it is quite clear that Sachin was the lone standing horse during the infamous match fixing incident that came as an eclipse on the Indian team with the advent of the millennium. And also, the main thing that we need to understand here is the impact that it had on the Indian team and the fans who supported Indian cricket. I'm not sure of the others, but for many, it was like after this incident, when every catch was dropped or when there was the free hit buzzer, today for a no ball ball, there is a free hit that is offered, and it still has its roots somewhere in us even to date. When it comes to Team Bangalore, the two names that came out roaring loudly, though there was nothing around this or there was not a single question raised or asked here, because when it comes to Bangalore, there are two names that make to this list. The first name is Virat Kohli, which now is slowly turning into Anushka Sharma. And the second name from the list of players to have played for the RCB is Daniel Vettori. Some believe that Vettori and McCallum, along with some more like Franklin, Tim Southey, and others were from the side of the New Zealand Australia side. And also, these players were very instrumental in getting local talents from around these clubs as well, which has been of great benefit to the teams. Not to forget the entry of Pollard in the IPL. Each and every one of us know that Pollard was not that big a name in West Indies cricket back then when was drafted, and the CPL was not that much popular of an event to make all the noise. Everyone knows how Pollard made his way into the Mumbai Indians side. And if you do not know, then let me tell you, it was a player, Dwayne Bravo, who suggested to have Pollard included. So this is how Pollard made his way into the Mumbai Indians setup. Getting back to the betting, now the matches that were fixed were disclosed to some people from the close circles half an hour before the start of any match. And this, whatever has been told or what I heard around this, is a fact. Not that we wanted to make money or promote any kind of betting, only to understand how the entire process works. Sandeep and Asif Bhai tried it out for some matches, and the game plan for the whole match we got through, most of them, because we had information of everything well beforehand, say a good 20 minutes before the match. I would not elaborate on it, but would pretty much say that everything which was supposed to happen in the match and around the match was made available to us a good 20 minutes before the match. But the only condition was you can bet on it and make your fortune out of it, but you should make sure that you do not give the secret out. Now, finding this as well was not easy for us. But then some permutations and combinations happened which made things much easier for everyone. And the things went smoothly on paper. And when all the calculations around these incidents were in contention too, there were rates fixed for each player, and also charts were created for the different hot on the spot offers. Now, this on the spot offer is an excuse given to the bookie. He can calculate this in the best way that would suit him. And some players of the spot offers are the runs scored on a particular ball over the number of wickets to fall in a particular time frame, for example, in the first 5 overs, and the total that the teams could achieve in their allotted quota of overs or during the particular phase of the game. Power play, last 10 overs, etc. etc. are the hot cakes when the functioning of spot offers comes into the picture. There have been numerous instances other kinds of spot bets have come into the picture as well, and those were criticized equally badly. There are incidents that have come to light which has taken the whole sporting world to shock time and again. And there have been so many instances where these incidents were not taken that seriously. And also, this was a sport where once upon a time one bad over could end your career, and you would potentially be out of everything and suddenly take a backstage almost immediately. There was a small issue found in you, and today the same sport has become entertainment. Once a gentleman's game is slowly losing its charm, and the stories around these sporting events are getting dirty every passing day. Now, when we go back and see the things for ourselves from a totally detached angle, when I go back and look into these matches as and how they have happened, and when I listen to some stories around it, I sometimes feel for ourselves that we stuck to our chairs thinking that it was all live. Because when I hear some stories around it, you feel that this was all well known and was a play that each of them have played to perfection. If you now have to go and look back on some matches, do you not for yourself feel the same too? Because there are some matches wherein the end result looks too good to be true. And when you look back on it, you will see through it and understand that some of these matches have been a huge question mark even to date. The matches, like the one where Suraj Ranjiv bowled a no ball to Sehwag international match. This match has been a big question mark even to date, but there are no questions raised on this match. This is one international match where this controversy made it to the news like wildfire and died down immediately. This match, if the reports that I have received are to be believed, then that particular match was a tenure of loss, where the bookies lost around 17 lakh dollars, 17 lakh billion dollars. Okay, where the bookies lost around 17 lakh billion dollars, roughly, not sure of the amount, but the sum of the subject is that there was a lot of money that was lost in this match. This match was a classical example of how, when a news makes a huge fuss around itself for some time only to die down in silence almost instantly, and this match has been ignored by everyone. If some reports are to be believed, Sehwag never was to play that big a knock on that day. But Sehwag has his style of going about things. He did not utter a word. He did not utter a word until he played the game. This is also what many people amongst us might have heard as well. This was one such match where a lot of calculations went wrong and there were huge losses incurred. I am feeling so strange that for this long, each one of us fell for this really. The first point that comes into my mind is that were we so dumb that we couldn't even see through things and understand this is what was happening? Minaji, I will stop it at here.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I hope I was clear today. There was no
Yeah.
confusion.
Absolutely. No.
Absolutely.
But very, very shocking. I mean, everything that's happening now is all already there in his diary. For example, you're talking about Bhatti and Rajesh
Now,
Shukla.
see, Meenaji, Riaz Bhatti, first I shared the slides of Sushant on November 9th.
Yeah.
And from November 10th onwards, Riaz Bhatti is all over the news. So the slides are being followed. It's not that, see, because as I have been saying that there are some 6 other copies of the drives out there.
Yes.
I don't know in whose position they are.
Yeah.
And even if I know, I am not I should not be telling that on the media, social media.
Yeah.
So they have access, and as I have told that other 3 of these core team members have the main link. Okay,
Yes.
so they have access to the files we are downloading and seeing, the progress we are making.
Yeah.
Okay, and they also know, and the core team members also know what is there in the slides, right?
Yes. Yes.
So the people know. I mean, before I get to read, before I get to download and read the slides, those people already have an idea what all is there in the slides. Are you getting me?
Terrible.
So this is not exactly a coincidence what is coming out in the news. And
exactly. Yeah. Understood. And also, see, there were rumors that Mukesh Ambani is going to shift to UK, and then suddenly it was hushed up. But apparently the news is true. I mean, why? And see, what are the links? See, these are all coming out very clearly. At a party in Mukesh Ambani's house or a wedding or anything, everybody from Smriti Irani to all these people turn up, at his gate, and everybody is received with so much of love, whether it is Uddhav Thackeray or Madhuri Dixit or anybody, all these politicians from, BJP, everybody goes there.
Exactly.
Very sad.
That's what I mean. So if they are the people, if the only select set of people are the ones who enjoy the privileges and the protection and the fundamental rights, so why are taxes being collected from the other people if we can't even be given the basic fundamental right of equality of law for everyone?
Yeah. That's it. And look at all this fixing and all that IPL
everything,
and
everything is scripted.
Most corrupt, and people still watch them. I blame the people in our country who watch cricket when they know the whole thing is fixed.
No, these slides are not reaching. The media is also playing a very, it's like not
dirty
only
game.
It has become blind, it has become deaf to these slides, like the agencies.
See, in the case of Rajesh Shukla, see his TV is benefiting from that. What Subhash lost, Z News owner lost, is his Rajesh Shukla's gain in every way. He has media and connects,
And if Sushant could find out all this, Minaji, I'm sure that the agencies are aware of this. Yeah. So what is stopping them from acting on any of the high-profile cases is something they should not. I mean, we should not let them get away with remaining silent.
Yes. Okay. So many people shifting out of India. Yeah, hoping they can cover their crime. Thank you so much, Deepti. So we'll join us for another session whenever you are listening, and we pray for you always.
Thank you. Please do keep praying, because yes, prayers are working also. So kindly continue with the prayers. And thank you so much. I will be back again with more slides to share. Okay.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night. Good night.